Hello everyone. This lecture attempts to give you a feel of what drama is, its origin, development, structure and contemporary scenario. Well, it is quite interesting to watch a drama on stage. We are involved in the storyline and the characters as well. We try to identify ourselves either with the situation or with the characters. This is because drama is a representation of life on stage. It tries to imitate, define and redefine the aspects of life. Well, according to Gibbelson Knight, drama aims to make profitable terms with alien forces surrounding man. He observes drama to be action, and he further elaborates that drama exists only when there is a coherent action performed by people representing persons other than themselves and an audience drawing influence and advantage from such performance. We all very well know the fact how Gandhiji was touched and moved by watching the play Harichandra and was determined never to utter a lie in his lifetime. This is just one example to tell us how drama can influence human thought and chisel the thought process even. Well, with this brief introduction, let us now trace the origin and development of drama through ages. The Greeks were the first to have dramas. The first Greek theatre was constructed in Athens between 600 and 200 BC, that is 2500 years ago. This started as a religious ritual or worship to the Greek god Dionysus. Dionysus was considered to be the god of wine, fertility and patron of dramas. This cult involved in reciting choral hymns. It was called dithyramb. These hymns were sung in praise of Dionysus and his adventurous deeds. Soon, this was recognized as one of the competitive subjects in all Athenian festivals. Now, with the passage of time, it had ceased itself to be concerned only with Dionysian adventures, rather started to take its subjects from all periods of Greek mythology. Thus, dithyramb would evolve with the passage of time as stories in play form, that is drama. Now, Thespis deserves a mention here. He was the first one to introduce a character to interact with the chorus. That character was called protagonist, meaning the main character of the play. So, with the introduction of the first character, his name has achieved immortality in theatrical jargon because the words actors and thespians are synonymous. Well, Pisistratus, the ruler of Athens, changed a little bit all these Dionysian festivals and instituted drama competitions. These competitions were held annually. At this time, great theatres were constructed like the Attic Theatre, Theatre at Delphi, Theatre of Dionysus at Athens. Amphitheatres were also constructed. They were the erected wooden platform along the hillsides for the people to watch the shows. During the Athenian festivals, the plays were performed only in daytime. Actors had little or no makeup. That was compensated with masks having exaggerated facial expressions. They wore buskins, a sort of leather shoes tied till their knees. They did not have any stage property or scenery. The main focus was only upon the chorus. Only when the attention was shifted towards the actors, the performance moved onto stage. At this time, on the Athenian theatre came one influential man called Aeschylus. Aeschylus was the one who changed the form of dithyramb into drama. He was the one who introduced a second character in the play called antagonist to interact with the protagonist. He introduced stage properties and scenery. He reduced the number of chorus from 50 to 12. His famous play, Persians, is considered to be the existing ancient play till date. Following the footsteps of Aeschylus came Sophocles. Sophocles was a fine craftsman. His plays were suffused with irony. The contribution of Sophocles to the world of drama is the contribution of the third character. Then his plays were full of existential techniques too, because he believed in reality more than mythological recreations. It is not that he had little faith in Greek gods, but he wanted to portray reality. So, his famous character Antigone says, "What joy is there in day repeating day? Some long, some short, with death the only end. I consider them fools who warm their hearts with the glow of empty hopes." What a philosophical insight. We can even say he would be the pioneer of the later existential drama. Well, after him, the theatre was dominated by Euripides. Euripides was the one who made the drama more common, and he gave equal weight to the emotions of the princes and the peasants. He even focused on the most forgotten of the society, that is women, slaves and the old. His contribution to drama was institution of prologue, that is, it would set the stage in the beginning of the play. With all such ancient great playwrights, comedy also thrived. But in Greece, comedy was not considered to be a prominent one when compared with tragedies. But in due course of time, they were also acknowledged as an artistic form. Aristophanes and Menander were considerable playwrights. Now, coming on to the Roman theatre, Romans were greatly influenced by the Greek theatre. They borrowed the ideas and philosophies of Greek theatre. They translated the plays into Latin and staged them. But one difference was that their plays, though translated, were less philosophical. They introduced pantomimes and mimes. Seneca was an influential playwright who influenced most of the playwrights who came thereafter. Well, with this brief introduction of this origin from Greek to Roman, we shall now enter the realm of English stage. As in other countries, English drama also had its origin in religion. It came out of the liturgy of the church. In ancient times, the plays were divided into two major categories, the mystery plays and the miracle plays. Mystery plays centered upon the tales taken from the Bible, while the miracle plays were based on the lives of the saints. We can say church had a complete hold over such dramas. In fact, clergymen wrote and acted such plays because they wanted to enlighten the illiterate congregation about the instructions of scriptures. As the plays grew popular, church became crowded by people, as a result of which the scenario was shifted from church to porch, thereby to the village streets. When it moved on to the village streets, even ordinary men started to take part in the drama. In due course of time, they started contributing to drama too. On seeing the style of presentation, language, church decided to cut its connection with such dramas. thus freed from the clutch of the church, town guilds started to take them over under their control. They started to stage the plays on moving wagons. Wagons moved from a street to the other street, thus reaching out all the audience available. We did not have any significant playwright or actor at that stage, but for that reason, it was not hampered down. We have great plays like Adam, which tells us about the fall of man. Well, morality plays deserve a mention here. Those were also religious subjects, but with a difference. The characters were mostly personified abstractions like virtue and vice. After some time, vice became associated with evil, a sort of humorous incarnation of evil, and he was considered to be the guaranteed fun maker of the play. It is to be noted here that he was the forerunner of the Shakespearean clown. Well, with all these drama grew up, town guilds being the sole authority. Now stages were started to occupy the halls of royalty and nobility too. Permanent theatres were constructed during Elizabethan era, and we can see regular inflow of, rather a huge inflow of dramas from the hands of the mighty scholars like Ben Jonson, Thomas Kyd, William Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe. For this reason, Elizabethan era is considered to be the golden age of drama. Well, they started contributing to the world of drama, tragedy, comedy and tragicomedy. To make a mention of tragedy, Aristotle says in his Poetics, tragedy is an artistic imitation of an action that is serious, complete in itself and of greater magnitude. He means by magnitude that it is the plot should not be too long or too short. It has other meaning also, that is, it should have, the character should have the moral ethos, the moral consciousness of the characters. So, Shakespeare wrote 4 great tragedies: Hamlet, Othello, King Lear and Macbeth. When we compare these tragedies with the ancient Greek tragedies, we find a difference. In the ancient Greek plays, tragedy never meant the fall of a man. Rather, it meant only a serious action complete in itself. But when it came onto the hands of contemporaries of Shakespeare and Shakespeare, it meant only the fall of a noble hero. To cite one example, Macbeth. Macbeth's fall was because of this tragic flaw called overwhelming ambition. Tragic flaw means one vital mistake in the essential part of the character as such. Well, now to make a mention about comedy, we have a series of comedies occupying English stage like romantic comedy, comedy of manners, comedy of humors, sentimental comedy and anti-sentimental comedy. To cite one example, comedy of manners ridiculed at the foils and foibles of the upper class society, and it came out as a sort of sarcasm and irony upon the fake ideals of the society. William Congreve's Way of the World is a fine example for this. Then coming to tragicomedy, it is a subgenre which commingles the elements of tragedy and comedy. It may mean a serious action which would have a happy ending, or a tragedy interspersed with comic elements to change the mood of the play. Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale is one example for this. Well, with this tragedy, comedy and tragicomedy, we shall have a look at the important pyramid, which would tell us the dramatic structure. There was a famous dramatic critic called Gustav Freytag. He analyzed the dramas right from its origin and have come out with a theory that any plot would consist of these five important aspects. One is exposition, the other one is rising action, followed by climax, and falling action, finally denouement. Exposition means introduction, introducing the audience, that is, giving the background information about the characters or the storyline. Next comes the rising action. Rising action is a series of events that would lead unto the climax. Climax forms the crux of the storyline where the plot demands from the protagonist to draw his inner energy. In the case of tragedy, it is otherwise. Here, the protagonist would be revealed of his inner weakness. It would be then followed by the falling action. Here arises the conflict between the protagonist and the antagonist. That is followed by denouement, nothing but the end of the storyline or play that would lead unto the catharsis of the audience also. It's nothing but the release of emotion and anxiety or fear, whatever emotion it would be. So this is what the dramatic structure propounded by Gustav Freytag. Thus, conventions were observed faithfully by the early practitioners, but with the passage of time, the followers did not observe the conventions. Even Shakespeare adhered to the rules of having 5 acts in a play, but did not adhere to the unities. He violated the unity of time. Following Shakespeare, the other playwrights did not even have 5 acts in their play. Rather, it was reduced to 4, 3, 2, and it had come down to 1 act plays. Even the stage evolved with time. Now, let us have a quick glance over the contemporary scenario. The 20th century proved to be a fine platform for all experimental techniques and innovative ideas. Drama was never an exclusion from this. 20th century drama wanted to challenge the conventional notions of ancient times. Thus evolved experimental theatres. They came into existence to reach out to the common audience. The 19th and 20th century stage was called proscenium stage. It is also called picture frame stage because the audience would watch the drama as that of a picture. Now, the playwrights of the experimental theatre wanted to break this convention also. They wanted to redefine the language, and also they wanted to create a sort of rapport with the audience. Beckett, the famous playwright, had in his play a character who would penetrate through the fourth wall and would address the audience, rather question him without answering them. This is a way of to make them think. Thus, the fourth wall between the actors and the audience was broke. Fourth wall is nothing but the imaginary wall that exists between the world of actors and the world of audience. Now, to make a comparison between realism and expressionism. Realism wanted to portray the realities of life with originality of speech and setting. But expressionism came challenging this idea where it gave expression for the psychological conflicts and innermost emotions. It is rather sentimental and arbitrary. So, the language and the action throbbed with nervous energy. Grammar was violated, words became fragmented. So, in accordance with all these changes, the stage also was set in order to reflect that language. A new technique evolved where the spot lights were on a particular spot of the stage, so that they wanted to show that stage is a space rather than a picture. Eugene O'Neill's The Emperor Jones is a fine example for the perfect blend of realism and existentialism. Now, to come unto the theatre of absurd, the very word tells us how absurd is the position of man in contemporary world. Yes, the plays also depicted the plight of man in this meaningless world. So, attuned to this logic, characters were forced to recreate wordplay and nonsense. So, altogether, it expressed the futility of human existence in this meaningless world. Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot is a fine example, and the philosophy of the theatre of absurd is put in a nutshell through this drama, that is, nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes. With reference to Indian scenario, Badal Sarkar deserves a mention. He was the one who made innovations in the political theatre and formed the third theatre or street theatre. He broke away the tradition of one-point view of the proscenium and took the theatre to the people. He wrote the plays for the people, and he wanted the stage to be one with the people. Thus came into existence street plays. Now, with all these alternative theatres and fringe theatres, drama is evolving day after day in order to chisel the thought process of humanity and to elevate the ethos of our society. Being the precursor of the modern silver screen, it would always deserve a meritorious position as a genre of English literature. Also, its attempts to define and redefine the aspects of life and human thoughts is really applaudable. To sum up, we could say that drama is an everlasting evolutionary process that attempts for the benefit and betterment of humanity. Books for further reference, you can refer to The Golden Labyrinth, written by G. Wilson Knight, English Literature, An Introduction for the Foreign Students, written by R.J. Rees, and Anatomy of Drama, written by Bolton. Thank you.